So welcome for today's quite spontaneous practice. I want to share a few practice ideas and tools for anxious times. So today's live is not so much talking, but actually would love to get on the mat. And having said that, you don't actually really need a mat for this, maybe just a cushion. You can do this on a carpet. I'm not even kind of really wearing yoga clothes. I mean, I'm wearing loose and comfortable clothes. So the idea is to actually offer up some tools that you could do anytime, anywhere, if you find them helpful. So much that there's so much that yoga has to offer to help us feel a little less overwhelmed, maybe a little bit more grounded, a little bit more settled, a little bit more stable, maybe a little bit more comfortable. Everybody will describe that feeling differently, of course. A little bit more at ease, I sometimes quite find a good way of describing it. So when there is a stressful, anxious time, it seems it's not so easy anymore to navigate life and go with the fluctuations and the currents of life. So add a little bit more ease and a little bit more flow, to be a bit more in flow. What's obviously actually happening is that yoga offers tools to help us regulate the nervous system. As one example, it helps us foster interoception and proprioception. That also has to do with the way that we do feel in our environment. It could help us release some tension and holding that we might be carrying around. That might well be emotional stress, tension, anxiety, tension in the body. These are just examples. So, I just find yoga is, and it's not the only body mind practice that has this to offer, but it just has so much to offer to help us with times that are challenging. So let's get on the mat. Let's get to practice. Any one of the things that I'm sharing here today, you could literally do as a standalone or in any combination with one another. So you could make a 10-minute practice out of this. You could make it a 30-second mini practice when you need it. Or you could do this whole sequence. This video will remain available and you can always go back to it. So I'm sitting on a cushion. You could sit on a chair at the edge of the sofa. You could lean against something if you like. So find a comfortable position, and to begin with, have a little move and stretch or twist, whatever the body might feel like it might need here to arrive, and for you to even feel the body, see what's going on. Sometimes a little shake can be quite nice. This is freestyle, listening to the body and taking following the body's lead. And as we are arriving and stretching and feeling the body here a little bit, let's also take a moment and become really aware of the space that we are in. So I invite you to look around the room that you're in right now, the space that you're in right now. And looking around means literally moving your head and eyes together and pause, focus on something, actually look at it, and then move on and look at something else, really look at it. Look at something else, really look at it. And you might be in a room that you know really well because it's in your home. And yet take it all in and take in the distances of everything to you. So you're really becoming aware of where exactly you are in that space. And so maybe looking behind you can help with that as well. Or looking up, checking the distance of the ceiling. Or looking down, noticing the closer proximity of the ground. Maybe you are realizing there is some things in your room, in the space that you're in, that you hadn't actually really noticed for a while. What are all the colors and the textures and the objects around you? Really becoming aware of exactly where you are right now. And as you do that, notice what that does in your system. And that might be quite a profound feeling, and might also be just really subtle. As with all of these things that we're going to be doing, everybody will perceive them differently. But maybe you even notice how, just by looking around and really becoming aware of exactly where you are, there's a sense of arriving and maybe even grounding already. Maybe you're already becoming a bit more aware of your weightedness, sitting here on the ground, the pressure in your sit bones and your feet as you're orienting. Just as much as you might be aware of the space that you occupy, your tallness, your verticality. And let's bring that back into the center. So orienting yourself at times of overwhelm can be a really helpful tool, and you can really literally do this anywhere and everywhere at any time. We'll start off with a sounding breath, and the sound is so we start with the vibrating v as in van, and then the sound of ooh. And we'll do that 5 rounds. Do it in your own time, and we'll more or less finish at the same time with only five rounds. You might want to close your eyes, or you can leave them open. That's up to you. So we'll just join in when you're ready, inhaling through the nose every time. Last one. As and when you're finished, just let that resonate for a moment. And as my intention is not to talk too much, I won't comment on the what and why of each individual tool I'm offering here. But if you have any questions as to why we might be doing any of what we're doing today, then please do comment later, ask me, get in touch. But for now, we'll get to lie down. So you don't need your mat. You can do this on a carpet. That's absolutely fine, or a blanket. And as you come to lie on your back, the invitation is to roll around a little bit and stretch and twist, pretty much freestyle, whatever might feel nice here for your body. And it's also a great way to check in and see how the body is doing today, if it's rather on the stiff side or good, how the left and the right might compare, how you are relating to the ground underneath you. I'm feeling a little bit of stiffness in my body today, but that's a little bit of muscle ache from something I did yesterday. So I'm just respecting that, inviting that as part of what is right now. And let's come to settle. So I'll invite you to have your knees bent and place the feet on the floor. If you prefer to have your legs straight, go ahead. But generally speaking, this is a little bit more comfortable for the back, especially when we first come to lie down on a harder surface. And then we can have the arms somewhere out by the side of the body. Maybe the palms go up or maybe the palms go down. You can try both, see what feels better for you. And I'll invite you to bring your shoulders a little bit down and away from the ears towards your hips. You can actually sort of walk them down for a moment. Feel free to close your eyes or have them open with a soft gaze towards the ceiling. And we'll take a few moments here. I call this the undoing pose. So the invitation is to basically not do anything for a few moments and simply rest. So it's an opportunity to really tune into the quality of rest and checking in with the body, how it actually is resting on the ground right now. How are you resting through the soles of the feet? How are you resting through the back of the pelvis? How are you resting through the back body, the back of the shoulders, down the arms and hands? And how are you resting through the back of the head? And can you rest a little bit more? Notice if there is a part of the body that seems to not be resting quite as much as the rest of the body. Maybe you notice a part of the body holding itself slightly away from the ground somehow. If that's the case, would it be possible to let that part of the body drop a little bit more and rest as well? You might find using the release of the breath, the exhale, can help with that. Let's take 2 or 3 really deep and full, what I call freestyle breaths. So that means through the nose or the mouth, as you wish, whatever might come most naturally here. You might even want to make a sound or take a sigh. You don't have to, it can be silent. These are 3 deeper breaths for yourself, simply for yourself. For nobody else. Let's pick up the right leg off the floor and move the leg around a little. So that could be in a circular motion, that could be a little wiggle, it can be both directions. Really as a way of saying hello to that hip socket and that leg. Get a little bit of movement back into the body. And then with a sweeping motion of the knee out to the side, we place the foot over the other thigh and let that settle here. So the knee is falling out to the side with the support of the other leg. And then very gently and slowly we start to sway the legs from side to side. And that actually comes from that left foot that's still on the floor, rolling from the inner to the outer edge of the foot. And as that foot is rolling, inner to outer, outer to inner, the legs begin to sway from side to side. Really starting off super slow, very small movement here. And you'll notice how the pelvis is rocking along, tilting along from side to side. Very small movement. And then we might notice though that the legs are quite heavy and that there's a pull of gravity acting on those legs, and the legs might quite naturally want to go a little bit further each time. So allow that to happen, and this way, very gradually, organically, we'll allow the movement to get a little bit bigger each time. But notice also how there is this natural inner body tension that's actually containing the movement. It's not like your legs are just suddenly going to plonk down to the floor. It's naturally controlled, and gently, gently, the movement can grow. And it might turn into a bit of a twist. You might notice how this is traveling up into the lower back, into the lumbar area, maybe even to the lower ribs. Really turning more into a twist sensation here. Maybe your knee and your foot come all the way down to the floor respectively, but maybe they won't, and that's fine. Mine usually don't. But now that the movement is bigger, let's add the head, and the head is going to move the opposite direction to the legs. So legs to the right, head to the left, and vice versa. However, let's move in perfect synchronicity. See if we can let the head and the legs travel at exactly the same pace, the same distance. We want to cross over at the midline at exactly the same time. They start and stop at exactly the same time. They are moving as one in beautiful harmony, perfect synchronicity. Let's do a couple more rounds of that. And we bring that back into the center slowly. And place the right foot back down to the floor. Do what you need to do here to kind of feel all leveled up again. And we take a brief moment to check in. How does that feel? Left side, right side. Notice. And so we repeat on the other side. Let's pick up the left leg and move that around the hip socket a little bit to begin with. So you might want to circle the leg or wiggle the leg, whatever feels good movement here for you. And then with the sweeping motion of the knee out to the side, we cross the left foot over the right leg. And again, we start with this time the right foot that's still on the floor, rolling from the inner to the outer edge of the foot. And that's creating the swaying motion from left to right. So this begins as a very small movement, like rocking a baby. And you might feel like really the back of the pelvis as it's rolling from side to side. Might even feel a bit massagey, depending on what's going on there for you. And then the pull of gravity and the weight of the legs take the legs a little bit further each time. So very organically and naturally, the movement is growing. And also notice at the same time though how there's this natural inner body tension that is working in synchronicity with the pull of gravity. They are working together. So the movement is beginning to open up into more of a twist. You feel this coming up your lower back into the lumbar area, maybe even to the lower ribs. And as the movement has grown here, let's add the head moving the opposite direction. So legs to the right, head to the left, and vice versa. And again, in perfect synchronicity. That might take a little bit of extra focus. Notice, what does it take to really move the head and the legs the same distance, let them travel the same pace. They start and stop at the same time, they cross over at the midline at exactly the same moment in time. Let's keep going 2 or 3 more rounds, finding your own pace with this. Let's go, last one. And then slowly bringing that back into the center. And we place the left foot back down to the floor. And settle here again, do what you might need to do to feel all leveled up and take a moment to notice. Maybe a deep breath, especially if it comes spontaneously. Let that happen. Let's float the arms up towards the ceiling. And taking one arm up, reaching up towards the ceiling, and then we kind of almost plonk the shoulder back down. So let the shoulder drop back down, and let's do that on the other side as well. And do it a couple more times each side. You can really feel like the woof, the shoulder blade bonk on the ground here. And let's interlock the fingers and take the hands behind the head. So lift your head up for a moment and rest your head in your hands. Let's cup the hands around the head. So for that, we've got the elbows resting out to the sides. but the hands kind of sort of curling up and rounding, cradling around the shape of the skull. So in that way, you're kind of stabilizing the head. So the tip of the nose is facing up towards the ceiling and stays facing up. We're going to do the smallest of movements. We're going to only move the eyes. And to start with, we'll go to the right side. So not moving the head, only the eyes. Look over to the right side, out of the right corners of your eyes. Now it's a very small movement and still this can be quite intense. So if it gets too strong in some way, release this anytime you like. And maybe you notice there is some kind of tension in the body somewhere building up. If that's the case, can you relax it? Is it possible not to contract? Check in with your breathing. Is it possible to keep your breathing very calm and during this exercise? Remember, you can take your eyes back to the center anytime if this is getting too strong. Otherwise, we'll stay for just a little bit longer here, looking out to the right side with both the eyes. I'm going to stay for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and let's release. Look back up towards the ceiling. Feel free to look around the room a little bit. Relax here for a moment. Take a break. Maybe taking a deep breath. Maybe the body needs to move and shake this off in some way. Go for that if your body feels like it. And so we get ready for the other side. And again, if it gets too strong in some way, then release it earlier. So we take both eyes to look over to the left side this time, looking out of the left corners of the eyes. The head stays steady and facing center, so tip of the nose up towards the ceiling. Check if there is any part of the body contracting here for some reason. If that's the case, is it possible to relax that contraction? Check in with your breathing. Is it possible to keep your breathing very calm here during this exercise? Keeping the eyes over to the left side. And remember, you can release this anytime you like if it gets too strong. I'm going to stay just for a little bit longer for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and let's release. Take the eyes back up to the ceiling. Look around, maybe take a deep breath. Maybe your body is responding differently and wants to move and shake a little. Go for that. Maybe you need to swallow. All of these are possible responses from the nervous system throughout this practice, so feel free to give space to that and let that happen. Whilst we've got the hands here behind the head, let's have a really strong interlock with the fingers. We bring the elbows up towards the ceiling. Soften your shoulders away from your ears, so you've got lots of space there between the shoulders and the elbows. And we're with strong hands going to lift the head up. I know the head is heavy, it's about 7 kilos or so, but your hands are strong enough. So lift that head up with your strong hands. And as your head is up, I know we've probably used the abdominals a little bit. See if you can relax the abdominals. And only use the strength of your hands. And a little tip here, what you might want to do is walk yourself up onto the edges of the scapula. So then you can rest more through your bone structure here. And then with every release of the breath, we'll invite a little bit more softening into the body. Is it possible to exhale and soften the neck muscles a little bit more? And the throat, to soften the chest bone away from the chin, to soften across the tops of the shoulders. So we have the head really, really passive here, resting into the strong hands. Is it possible to relax the abdominals a little bit more even the pelvic floor maybe? And we'll stay for 2 more deep breaths here. In slow motion, let's release the head back down. Very, very slowly and gently. And then once you're back down, release the hands. Take the arms out to the side, somewhere comfortable. Take a moment to check in, notice how does that feel, especially around the upper back, the neck, the shoulders. Invitation is to take a deep breath. Let's invite the legs in towards the chest, cross the ankles over, get hold of your knees, one hand to each knee, and let's have a little rock or maybe a circle rolling around. And then from this rocking motion, let the body decide which way might be more comfortable, and you roll onto your comfortable side and stay there for 3, 4, 5 breaths, depends. So as you get onto your side, make sure you just kind of shuffle along a little bit so you get comfortable on your side, so you can take your breaths here, allowing the fluids to settle, allowing the body to catch up with the change of direction and gravity. And it's this point that the body says, okay, I'm ready. And then we can use the hand on the floor to support us. We can send the top leg away and slowly push ourselves up to come to sitting again. And feel free to choose your own comfortable sitting position. Again, that can be cross-legged, it can be on a cushion. You might want to go and sit on a chair. It's absolutely fine. Or maybe you want to kneel. That's also a good option. Everybody has their own preference. I'm popping myself up here on a cushion. And as you come into your vertical axis, let's have another little shake, a little shimmy, a little wiggle to help us arrive back in our verticality. And so we'll free up a little bit the upper back with a little swinging motion. So we'll hold the opposite elbows and let the arms hang down by the rib cage. And we'll swing from side to side. So it's a rotation with the shoulder girdle. Swing, 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 left to right. This is not very technical, so this might look a little different for you. I don't know, might go at a slightly different pace. That's also fine. Just keep swinging left to right. It can be small or bigger. Keep going for 3 and 2 and 1. And then we raise the elbows up towards shoulder height and we keep going. Swinging from side to side. Swing, swing, swing. Again, it can be slower, it can be faster. For 3 and 2 and 1. And then we raise the elbows up over the head towards the ceiling and we keep going. Turn and turn and swing and keep going. Deck, deck, deck for 3 and 2 and 1. We reverse, so that means we stay and swing for 3 and 2 and 1, and then lower the elbows down towards shoulder height again, and we keep going. We swing and swing. A few more rounds for 3 and 2 and 1, and lower that down to the ribs again. Last stage here. A few more for 3 and 2 and 1. And release, come back to center, find somewhere for your hands to rest. Take a moment, let that settle, notice what that feels like in the body. Remember, if the body feels like a spontaneous movement between or a deep breath, all of that is welcome, go for it. The next exercise we'll do, there are kind of 3 layers to that, and you can take any one of those out if it doesn't feel okay for you, right? So we'll build it up, but remember you can take any one of these layers out of the exercise. So the first one is we tilt the head. So let's tilt to the right just to make it a little bit easier, the instructions, we tilt the head to the right. That means right ear towards the shoulder. That means you can still see both my ears. The face is facing forwards. And I know that can be a little bit stiff, so that doesn't have to go very far. I mean, I'm not coming very far here either. It could be just a small angle, taking the head tilted to the side, and find your comfortable place with that. No push, no pull. Second layer, we'll add the eyes, another eye exercise. So you take the eyes and look out of the right corners of your eyes. So that means you'll be looking down to the floor just next to your right knee probably. So the face with that stays forward. So check that you haven't turned your head. The head is still only tilted. Face is looking forwards. If I could see you, I could also still see both your ears. The eyes looking over towards the right side. And then we're going to take the left arm, last layer, out to the side, left arm, so the opposite arm, and somewhere out to the side, possibly a little bit behind. And you can check, go a little bit higher or a little bit lower until you find that sweet spot for you. Where does it feel like it's a useful lengthening, opening, possibly a gentle stretch sensation here? And maybe you feel you want to keep moving that arm, or maybe you want to keep it still. That's also fine. And we'll stay for a few more moments. And it will be step by step that we're going to come out again. So first, the left hand comes back, just the hand. Then we take the eyes back to the front. And then we're going to use the right hand and push the head back up towards the center. Whew. And then here, let's look around the room, moving head and eyes. Possibly a couple of deep breaths. Just get some movement back into the neck here. Good, as a little break. And then we repeat that on the other side. So remember, layers, and you can leave any one of those out or release any one of them sooner. First is that we tilt the head to the left this time. So ear comes towards the shoulder, closer towards the shoulder. Doesn't have to go very far, that's absolutely fine. There's no push or pull. See if you can find that place with ease here. Then we're going to add the eyes, and the eyes are going to look to the left as well. So you'll be looking down to the floor, somewhere to the side of your knee probably. Both eyes look over to the left side. And as you do that, try not to turn the head so the face stays forwards. I can still see both your ears. And then we're going to add the last layer. The right arm is going to come out to the side, and that could be that you're taking it a little bit behind, a little bit higher, a little bit lower. Find the sweet spot, and it could be that you actually carry on moving. So if that's the case, that's also fine. Where you find stillness with that arm, where we're going to stay for a little while longer, a few breaths. And step by step we come out. So hand first, right hand comes back to the knee. Then we release the eyes, looking forwards. We take the left hand and push the head up, back to the center. And then release the hand. And we look around the room again. Use your head and eyes. Focus on different things. Refocus your eyes. Let them relax here. Check in how your neck is doing. Good. We'll do a little face massage at this point. Feel free to change your sitting position if it's not serving you any longer. So I start here quite generously. Oh God, I can't speak. Massaging my cheeks and the jaw. You can dig in with the fingertips, or you can have long fingers and moving the cheeks around, whatever feels best for you here. And then I come here to the side of the nose, just to the wings of my nose with just one finger. This one is not so deep, not such deep pressure. I'm taking the skin and a layer of tissue underneath the skin and circle that around. So that means the fingers are not sliding over the skin. I am moving the skin. And that could be that as you're coming together, you're just squeezing your nose shut for a moment. So breathe through your mouth, that's fine. Keep circling here. Both directions. And we release. Second point is just in the inner corner of the eye socket. So here it's probably easiest to go in with the thumbs. And we do the same thing. We grab the skin and move the skin. And here it feels really like moving it right over the bone, as the bone is much closer to the surface. And make it small. So, no need to poke your eyes out. That's all good. Be really gentle here. Circular movement. We're moving the skin over the bone, both directions. So change. You might find that after a few rounds, the circles are also getting a little bigger. Maybe a couple more rounds. Good. And we release. And then we pull on our ears. So we grab our earlobes and pull down towards the ground. Open your mouth a little bit to release the jaw. 2-3 times. And then I take my ears from behind and pull them back behind me to the wall behind me. It's like literally I want to stretch my inner ears in a way. That might seem a bit of a funny idea, but anyhow. And then I take my ears from above and pull them up towards the ceiling. Again, relax your jaw if you can. Open your mouth. Good. And we release. And then take one hand to squeeze your other arm. And we squeeze that along. And go all the way down along the elbow. Down into the lower arm. You can squeeze as firmly or as lightly as feels good for you here. Coming round to the wrist and then squeezing all the way out to the hand and to the fingers. And all the way out. And then other side. Squeezing from the top of the arm, from the shoulder, all the way down. Taking quite small steps. Coming here to the elbow. Squeezing down towards the wrist. Including the hand, and it can come all the way to the fingers, squeezing and releasing that. Let your hands rest here for a moment. Do a little check-in. Notice how does that feel in your system, in your body. Maybe there is a deep breath coming spontaneously. Always go for it. Good. And then I'd like us to get a little bit of movement into the body. So this is a simple, relatively simple sequence that I do enjoy though and do a lot. I start in an extended child pose and have a couple of breaths to begin with, checking in. Feel free to have a little bit of side-to-side movement to ease your hips. Your sit bones don't have to reach all the way to the heels, and your head doesn't have to be on the floor for this one. But your arms want to be quite activated on this one. Spread a little bit through your fingers. Have a good contact here with the ground, with the mat or the carpet. And then we're going to actually move with the breath. So every movement is with an inhale or an exhale. So
On your inhalation, let's come up into a round cat. So let your head drop, look down towards your pelvis, and then exhale, shifting the pelvis forwards and through to come through into your upward facing dog or gentle back bend here. Head is coming up last. Inhale, drawing back up into a round cat, letting the head drop. And then sending your sit bones away, lengthening away on your exhalation. So feel free to adjust the distance of the hands, step them forwards and back through the sequence or change them now. Your knees can be as wide as they want to be. And let's keep going for maybe 3 or 4 rounds in the rhythm of your own breathing. So find your pace, inhaling, coming up into a round cat, looking down at the pelvis and exhaling to come into a back bend into your extension. Inhale, rounding through the spine. And exhale, release and lengthen back. Feel free to go faster or slower than me. And for the purpose of today's practice, see if you can move with every inhale and every exhale. Normally I'd always advocate that you can take as many breaths as you like, but for today, I actually would love us to move a little bit. So there's a little bit of a pace to it. Let's go 2 more rounds in your own time. As and when you finish your second round, feel free to get settled in your child pose. And when I say settled, is get yourself as comfortable as possible here. So that could be rounding your arms, making a pillow for your head, using some props. So that would be one option. And as an alternative option, you could also do a seated forward fold. So if you want to switch your legs and come to cross-legged and come into a forward fold, that would be a choice. And you could also have your legs straight in front of you. So I want to finish the practice in a form of forward fold, and you choose what that is. So it could be your child pose that you get really settled and comfortable, but with your legs crossed or legs out in front, knees bent, whatever is good for you. And I'm not looking for a big stretch here at all. I'm looking for a restful position where I'm fully supported. I'm not pushing, not pulling, not reaching. I'm setting myself up in a way where I'm supported through my structure and I can rest and find a little bit of quiet in the forward folding. So it's not technical. I'm not looking for anything particular. I'm not looking for a particular shape. I'm not looking to reach my nose to the floor. And whichever position you've chosen, see if you can bring your focus to your breathing and watch your breath here for a moment. Imagine this is a breathing meditation, observing the breath. I'll stay for 3 or 4 more breaths here. Engage with the ground, push down through your knees or your feet, your hands slowly restacking.
Coming back into your verticality. Slowly, slowly. And let's come round and find the most comfortable seated position for you. Again, that can be on a chair, it could be kneeling, it could be on a cushion. You might lean against the wall or the sofa behind you, wherever you're practicing. And I'm aware I'm going way over the advertised 45 minutes, but I would love us to do one more exercise here, and that's a breathing practice. So as you settle, find your comfort in your seat, in your shape, we'll take one hand on the abdomen, and one hand can be the back of the hand onto either the lower back or maybe a little bit further up on the mid back. And take a few moments here to notice the movement of the breath. So notice how the body is expanding to the front and to the back at the same time as you inhale. And how that's coming back towards your midline, towards your spine as you exhale. And you might be deepening your breathing ever so slightly here just to make that sensation a little clearer. That's fine. At the same time, make sure you keep your breathing steady and calm. There's no need to strain your breath. And feel free to release the hands, but continue with that same focus, observing how the body expands out to the front and to the back at the same time as you inhale, and how it comes back towards your midline as you exhale. A few more breaths, focusing on the front and the back. And then we switch focus, and we'll focus on left and right to sideways, to the sideway expansion here. So we can place the hands on the side of the ribs or the front of the ribs, wherever it is most comfortable, and don't have to stay very long either. When we inhale, focus on that expansion going out to the sides, pressing into your hands here. And how on the exhale that empties out and comes back together towards the spine. So maybe you're really focusing your breath differently here, a bit more actively expanding into the sides. That's okay. Just making sure there's not too much effort going into this, so you can sustain this, and feel free to release the hands and keep going with that focus on the expansion to the left and to the right at the same time, and the emptying out, the coming back together towards the midline on the exhale. We are kind of beings of two sides. We're quite aware of our left and right, our kind of asymmetrical symmetry. So maybe you notice how that's not just only in the ribs, but you might even notice how that radiates out across the shoulders, possibly into the arms, or maybe you notice it in the hips and the legs. This going out to the sides, to the space to your right and to your left. And then they're coming back together into your middle, into your center on the exhale. A few more rounds with that focus. Breathing, expanding sideways. And we shift focus once more, and we go up and down this time. For that, let's have the hands come in front of the body, palms facing towards each other. You're embracing like a big ball somehow in front of your heart center. And as we inhale, the hands move apart from one another, one down, one up. And as we exhale, the hands come closer together again. They don't touch, they just come back to the starting position. Inhaling, moving up and down at the same time. And exhale, coming back together. So we're kind of simulating the expansion going up and down with the inhale. And the retraction, the emptying out, the coming back together on the exhale. So the up and down is not as easy to feel inside the body. And this gesture might be helpful. If you find it helpful, keep going with it. You can also lose it if you want. Maybe you notice how there's this downward expansion, the diaphragm moving downwards, pressing a little bit down into your organs. You feel that pressure going down into your pelvic floor. And upwards, you might feel something expanding up at your first rib, the inlet here at the base of the neck. Maybe you feel it coming up into your throat. Maybe even up into the skull, right through the middle of the skull. There's another membrane here that might be receiving that expansion. And then all of that returns back towards the heart center here on the emptying out and the release of the breath. As you inhale, there's an expansion going up and down at the same time. And as you exhale, that comes back together towards the heart. And then to finish this exercise, this practice, let's focus on all of those directions at the same time, because of course they happen all at the same time. As you inhale, there's an expansion going to the front and to the back, to the left and to the right, and up and down simultaneously, out in all directions. And as you exhale, that empties out and returns back from all directions, meeting at the heart center. And as you are becoming aware of this expansion in all of those directions, notice how that really means into all directions between those 6 as well. As you inhale, there's an expansion out in all directions at the same time, like a big sphere around you. And as you exhale, that empties all out and everything comes back from all directions towards your heart center. Inhale, expanding out in all directions at the same time into space. Exhale, coming back into yourself, into your center. So notice how with every breath we have this relationship to the space all around us. Couple more breaths. You're very welcome to continue with this for a little bit longer. You're also very welcome to maybe come into a relaxation pose and finish with the Shavasana as you wish. You're also very welcome to get up and go about the rest of your day. Thank you so much for joining me, whether it was live or on replay. As I mentioned at the beginning, if you have any questions about any one particular exercise or technique that we did here as to why or how or what's going on with that, why would I want to do that during anxious times, comment below, get in touch. I'm more than happy to explain. And also, as mentioned before, you can do any one of these practices in isolation as a 30-minute little mini practice, 30-second mini practice anywhere at any time, or you can do them together in a different order, or you can follow this. And also, as mentioned, this video will stay here and I'll also upload it on YouTube, so you can keep going back to it. Thank you so much for practicing with me. I hope that was helpful. Enjoy the rest of your day and feel free to stay, continue breathing or lie down, have a little shavasana. Take care.